Ungrateful trans brats. This will be a bit of a rant. I cannot take it anymore. These young trans kids are driving me crazy because they don't know what their queer elders did that got us to where we are today. It's been a long road and we aren't finished, but we've been working hard since before most of you were born. There is this myth floating around that every cis white gay man only fought for the rights that affect him directly. Like they came up with some sort of list of demands which only included gay marriage and laws against being fired for being a cisgender gay man. It's as if they think that every march that was ever had for queer rights, they only ever mentioned these two demands and never did a single thing for the greater community and left out all the trans brothers and sisters behind. Then all the gay guys got married and now they all live in mansions raising kids. How dare you? This is absolute fucking bullshit, and I know where it came from. It came from fourth wave feminists. I have seen them say it, I have seen them take credit for the things that they only partially helped out with, and I've seen the result, which is these young queer women and trans people who piss on all of the ancestors and elders who paved the way for them. I think they believe that since the LGBTQ community is so divided now, that it has always been that way. This is not true. The queer community has been divided very specifically and recently, and you have fourth wave intersectional feminism to blame, not gay men. Feminists basically claim that intersectionality and third wave feminism was the only thing that got trans people any rights. Some trans kids seem to think that trans people fought for their own rights all by themselves, as if there was some giant flock of trans people in the same numbers that there are today back in the 90s. Sorry kids, but in the 90s, trans people were like unicorns, even in big cities. But when people I knew met them, we treated them that way, just like unicorns, like special, magical creatures that deserved respect. And we did our best to fight for their rights. We weren't always perfect, we didn't always get it, but trans allies historically were mainly gay men and lesbians, not necessarily feminists. Here's the thing. I'm 34 years old and I've been doing queer activism for 20 years. The first protest I helped organize was called Skirt Fest and revolved around the fact that a few boys got suspended from my middle school for wearing skirts to school. So we made flyers that got to a local high school and we all walked out one day, including a lot of high school kids, and a news crew came and we were on TV. Yep, I am a cis gay male and I was creating trans visibility when I was 14 in 1996. What have you done? I'm not going to rattle off my other qualifications. I have done a lot of different things at different times and never focused on just one issue. Most people I know are similar. This is the thing that I don't think a lot of these young queer and trans kids understand. Every piece of LGBTQ activism is what got all of us to where we are today. We have all benefited from it, and it has gotten a lot better over the past 10 years. Whether they realize it or not, every trans, bisexual, lesbian, non-binary, intersex, or whatever person benefits from every step of progress that the gay community has fought for. We all benefit from gay marriage, even if you don't realize it. It's not just about the fact that trans people can now get married too if they want to. I understand that most people don't really care. Rather, we are not seen legally as second-class citizens by our federal government. It's a small step, and we have a lot further to go, especially for trans people, but that step helps you guys too, and cis gay men fought very hard for that. But I don't want to give too much credit to one group for any one type of activism because I'm thoroughly against that. People try to divide history and act like some people's involvement was more important than other people's. They cite things like the fact that the first shot glass at the Stonewall riots was thrown by a trans woman of color, and that may very well be true. But it doesn't mean that dozens or hundreds of her gay brothers weren't there to fight with her. And it's kind of always been that way. I don't want to divide the community because we really are in it together. Everybody who isn't cisgender and heterosexual faces similar persecutions from non-accepting members of society, and the vast majority of us want every member of the queer community to have equal rights. We have fought for our collective rights and for individual concerns, but there has never been some huge majority of gay guys that only care about the rights of gay men, nor lesbians, nor trans people, except maybe over the past few years. There are specific organizations of gay men that a lot of people have a problem with, like the Human Rights Campaign. There are also specific gay activists who ended up likely only caring primarily about their own career activism or eventually a career in politics. And perhaps a lot of these guys focused on niche issues because it was their full time job and therefore didn't have time for the issues of trans people. Or maybe they just didn't care. And maybe some other gay guys don't care. But there were countless gay male activists like myself who always thought of the bigger picture. Personally, for every stride we have made as a collective, I was always thinking about the people who had it worse than me. When guys were fighting for gay marriage, I was the one saying, "What about trans rights? What about homeless queer youth?" I'm not saying I necessarily accomplished anything super tangible. I didn't open up a drop in center, but I did definitely raise awareness. And I was doing it before a lot of these young trans kids were born. What if guys like me had never even done that? What if I had legitimately not cared the way that you think that I didn't? What if I never even spoke up? There's been a lot of amazing lesbians who have watched out for the greater collective over the years as well. When the AIDS crisis hit, for example, most of the feminists ignored it, and that caused a whole lot of lesbians to tear off from the greater feminist movement to help look after their dying brothers and advocate visibility for the gay plague. Of course, now a lot of feminists demand credit for that simply because these were women, but they forget the fact that it wasn't necessarily feminists who were doing this. The feminist organizations at the time largely couldn't be bothered. It was lesbians who were loyal to their greater LGBTQ community. They realized that more so than gender, we should be united by our queerness, because at the end of the day, that's what really puts us at odds with society. But I don't want to yell at you all day. The young trans kids who disrespect their elders in this way really need to get a sense of history. The only reason you have the small amount of rights that you do is because of the greater LGBTQIA whatever movement. All of us, we're a collective. That's just the facts. The only reason Caitlyn Jenner is a thing is because we already had Ellen DeGeneres and Anderson Cooper as openly gay. We we didn't just do it for ourselves. We did it for all of us. And if you stop thinking of all of us as a collective, then you are separating yourself from your allies. And who are your strongest political allies? The older people that came before you. But who am I? I made the same mistakes that you did. I was so rude to my older allies. I didn't listen to them, and yeah, I don't know. Do you listen to your elders? Do you make these mistakes? Leave it in the comments. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Night.